I'm going to fade to black. With our new stay-at-home economy, people are working from home, have a lot of video conference calls, whether you're on Zoom or WebEx or Microsoft Teams. Gosh, there's so many easy, quick tips to look professional and sound so much better because this is now your image. How you look on camera and how you present yourself is the new economy. And so to help you look good on your next video conferencing call, we're going to give you some tips on this morning's Coffee with Colleen. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Colleen. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Colleen Hammond. I am a former on-camera meteorologist for the Weather Channel and now an image consultant, coach, and mentor. We are aiming to be the #1 resource for professional women who want to be classy and confident every day of their life. So what we're going to talk about today is Zoom. And if you are a member of the Cafe Club, if you're a Cappuccino member, you will also get the bonuses that go along with this today. And the link to become a Cappuccino member in the Cafe Club is included on the bottom of the show notes. So you can take a look at that and join us for that. But also what we're doing is I'm going to go a little bit into this today as kind of a teaser because next week I'm going to be doing a webinar that'll go more in depth on this. And so you can register for that webinar at colleenhammond.com/Zoom. And that will be next week. So the first thing we want to understand is that people say, oh, well, I'm not on video conference calls. I don't have a business. This is the new economy, ladies and gentlemen. Your children are in school and they're on camera often. And think about when you're looking at their teacher or their presentation, or if you're watching the news, for heaven's sakes. If it sounds bad, you change the channel. If you can't stand the audio, and audio is one of the most important things, and when you sound better, you look better. It's just a psychological thing. Your students, your children are now students, and their teachers and their professors are the only thing they see is them on camera. And we're human beings, and we make assessments. That's another nice way to say we judge, but based on what we see. And the teacher's going to look at your child and make an assessment about their work ethic, their homework, and how they're doing and how they present themselves. It's the same thing if they showed up in the classroom and their clothes were all messy and their face was dirty and their hair was a mess and they were slouched in their desk. Teacher's going to look at that and say, okay, I've got a situation here. Their homework's probably going to be late. It's going to be turned in on wrinkled, dirty paper. But then you see a child that comes in all bright and shiny and clean and nicely dressed and hair's combed and they look clean and they smell nice. And you think, okay, they're presenting themselves well. Same thing now on camera. So if you say this isn't for me, it's for everybody because this is our new economy. So the first place most people want to start is with a camera. So the first place you should start is with audio, but we don't have time to get into that today. But we'll start with camera because let's look good. And then we'll get into lighting and the audio and all that kind of stuff on the webinar. So make sure you register for that. And you can use your laptop camera. There are lots of different options of what to do. And one of those is your laptop camera. So take the tape off of it, it's covering it, but leave a bright piece of tape or a little sticky note or a smiley or something next to your camera on your laptop to remind you that that's where you need to look. You need eye contact. You need to be making eye contact with people. If I sat here this entire time and looked over here, you'd be like, why isn't she looking at me? What's she trying to hide? Eye contact on camera is just more important because the camera accentuates everything. And so if you have a tiny mess behind you, okay, let's just take this sweater. If I had a sweater or something hanging over the back of this chair, well, that kind of looks good, actually. Let's turn it inside out and let the steel. If I had that looks totally different. That's a hot mess because the camera will exaggerate everything as well as adding, 10 to 20 pounds. So you want to be looking as good as you can. But if you can't afford a camera, start with a laptop camera and make sure you have that good eye contact. Pretty much a standard USB camera is the Logitech and the 920. 922X is another one, and I'll have links for those as well. But this is a good standard 1080p camera that will give you that high definition and it'll look good. Now, if you really want to step up your game and you really want to look professional, then you're going to move to a DSLR camera, which is basically a camera that, like a Canon or a Nikon that has video capabilities. But the situation with that, you're going to need a tripod for anything you use, truly. But with a DSLR, you're going to need a way to connect the HDMI cord from your camera to the USB on your computer. So you need an extra card for that. So that's going to run you an extra $100 roughly, for about $150 if you want to get a decent one, close to $200 if you want that Magwell on the bottom. But a DSLR is going to give you a much, much, much more professional, or quite frankly, you can just shoot from your phone. Just make sure your phone is on a tripod. Nothing worse than somebody who has their camera and you got a shaky shot going on, right? That looks like the constant earthquake thing. And it makes people nauseous and it makes them, So if you're going to be using any kind of camera, it should be on a stable surface. So if it's in your laptop, it's already stable. If it's going to clip on like that Logitech, that clips on, that's going to be stable on the top of your screen. And then if you're going to use a DSLR or even your iPhone, make sure you're using it on a tripod so it holds it steady and you can get your framing done. So next we want to talk about camera placement and finding your best angle. Well, I'm not going to get into lighting because, lighting is really important. You don't want to have, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Camera placement, by that what we mean is eye level or above. But first, if you're using that laptop camera, please wipe off the lens. Because when you open and close your laptop, you don't realize it, but you're probably putting your thumbs and fingerprints over the top or a portion of that camera. So even as if it's across the bottom of the camera, you're going to have a blurry shot. And God forbid you have a big thumbprint over the top of that laptop camera. Your whole shot is going to be blurry. And I found these online because people keep going to tech support and say, why is my camera so blurry? Because you didn't clean it off. So make sure you just use one of the same wipes that you use to clean off your laptop screen and use that to clean off over the top of your camera lens. Now it does give you a nice soft muted look, but it's not attractive. People are used to high def and they want to see clearly. So make sure you clean that off. All right, so let's talk about eye level. And if you're using a laptop, there's two reasons to have it eye level, and we'll talk first about ergonomically. It's really, really, really bad for your neck, your spine, your back to have yourself looking down all the time. So in general, you should not be using your laptop camera or laptop computer on your lap. And if you do, you should have it propped up on a pillow or a stand or something like that. And if you have a laptop that you're using on a desk, make sure that it is at eye level or above, just for your back purposes. And sometimes you just need a stack of books. Sometimes just throwing your laptop on the top of a stack of not precariously balanced, but on a solid, wide stack of books may be all you need. But really what you should probably invest in is a nice laptop stand. This one's about $30 for this one. It also keeps your laptop cool because it has that airflow underneath it. This one's even nicer because it allows you to stand up and work and then sit down as well. And I think this one has an air cooler in it too. So eye level or above. And again, that eye level is not just for your back and spine, but it's because when your camera is lower than eye level, mine's a little bit too high. Mine's slightly above, not slightly, mine's too far above eye level. But just on the situation in this particular studio setup at this desk, it's the only thing that works because otherwise you'll see the top of my monitor here. But when you're looking down into a camera, you're looking down on people. So one of the things on a camera, this is a very little known fact, whatever is closest to the camera is going to look larger. So this picture I like because it's double duty. First of all, her hand, you can tell she's using her laptop because you can see it at the bottom of the screen, but her hand is the closest thing to the camera and it looks huge. Secondly, she's a gorgeous, thin gal, but at that angle, I'm sorry, people just aren't attractive from a lower angle. Not only that, subconsciously, it's like she's looking down at us. It's like that superior position on the throne, high above. So you don't want to have a high camera angle because it makes you look arrogant subconsciously. All right, so let's talk about whatever's closest to the camera looks largest. So obviously, this is an extreme example. Obviously, we know her hand is not that big, but when it's that close to the camera, that's why it looks so huge. That's why you'll see people that go fishing and they hold out their fish. That's why they're holding it out arm's length in front of them close to the camera because it looks so much bigger. Same thing happens to our face. So if our camera is too close to us, what's the closest thing to the camera? Our nose. So look at the difference between this shot and then she moved the camera back and zoomed in for that shot. Look at the big difference in her facial proportions. She has the same facial expression. Hair looks a little bit more fluffed, but in general, she just looks distorted in that left picture because she was so close to the camera. So remember, whatever is closest to the camera is going to be the largest looking thing. So set your camera far away and use the zoom setting to zoom in on you and your face, and that will make your proportions more proportional. Here's another trick. When you are sitting at your at your desk in front of your camera, no matter how far away your camera is, whatever's closest to the camera, say now this camera is probably 3 feet away from me. But so you can even see that when my hand gets closer, and you can tell that I've got a ring light up there too. My hand gets closer to the camera, of course, it's going to get bigger. So whatever's closest to the camera looks bigger. What's the inverse of that? Whatever's furthest away from the camera looks smaller. So sit up straight and lean forward. Your head looks a little bit bigger and it makes your body look smaller. So if we do it just the opposite, look how big my body got all of a sudden. I'm leaning forward. The lights help too. I'm leaning forward and now my head looks bigger and more normal, right? Except for my big shoulders. This has shoulder pads in it too. So those are some tips on just the camera. And if you think of like Instagrammers and influencers, what do? They take their selfies. They always have the high angle, right? Well, they get a little bit carried away and they do duck lips on. I'm not saying do that, but just remember, keep your camera at eye level or above. So mine is about this high. It's a little bit higher than my eye level. And always remember that what's closest to the camera looks bigger. So when you're making your hand gestures, body language is a whole nother thing because body language on camera is different than body language in person. But when you're making your hand gestures, don't reach toward the camera because then all of a sudden your hand gets bigger. And don't point at the camera either because then it looks like you're, yelling at somebody. And look at how big that looks. So another tip to keep in mind. So anyway, make sure you sign up for the webinar at ColleenHammond.com/Zoom. And that webinar will be next week. There's two time slots to choose from, one in the evening, one in the morning, so that you have a choice on that. And I'll be getting into all sorts of different tips and tricks on how to use, you can use OBS, there's all these other tricks that you can use to make yourself look far more professional, sound professional, how to set up your lighting, how to set up your audio, how to set up your studio behind you, hair lights, 3-point lighting, cheap lighting, simple lighting, complex lighting, all sorts of things that we'll be covering on the webinar. So I hope to see you there. If this was helpful to you, please like, comment, and hopefully share, and let me know where I'm wrong. Or let me know what you think is something that you can apply to your life. And remember, this is the new economy. This is something your children need to learn how to do as well, because as we move into the next couple of years, it's going to be really important that they know how to present themselves well on camera, which is done differently than presenting ourselves in person. All right, that's been all for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Coffee with Colleen. Take care. God bless. Bye.